Hi guys. Firstly, hello. Firstly, welcome to GreenTech Southwest. Thank you so much for joining us. Some of you might be your first time, some of you might be repeat offenders. So thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We're super honoured to be part of Bristol Tech Fest again. I think it's about our 5th year running. So yeah, really, really happy to be part of them again. So we've got some fantastic talks lined up for you today. I'm just going to do a little bit of an intro for those of you who aren't familiar with us, but don't worry, it won't be too long. We'll get right into the good stuff soon. So firstly, we'd just like to thank our sponsors. These events would not be possible to be held without these organisations supporting us. So thank you to AdLib and Bristol Digital Futures Institute as part of University of Bristol. But yeah, we couldn't do it without them, so massive thanks. And then some of you obviously will be familiar with us, but if you're not, say hello. This is, I'm Ellen. Mike, you've been probably welcomed in and given a name tag by. And then Hannah, she's unable to make it today, unfortunately. But yeah, if you don't know us, come say hi at the end. So there'll be some faces you recognise from the screen floating around, our fantastic volunteers. We absolutely would be headless chickens without these people. So massive thank you to Sam, Tegan, John and Tim and Ollie as well today, who's helped out for part of the event. So yeah, thank you for those as well. Oh, wrong way. Also, Hannah is the genius behind our website. So we've got a great website which we use to basically summarize all of our events and make sure that you can relive every single one of our events, again, with all the resources, the speaker slides, videos, everything. So yeah, it's become a really, really great resource. This event will also be on there sometime this week. So definitely check it out. You'll be able to see, yeah, all of our past events in one place. Sorry, I'm just going to turn this around to make it a little less painful for everyone. So, as I mentioned before, we are part of Bristol Tech Festival today, and we are definitely part of Build Day today. So make sure to check out their portal if you would like to attend any more events. Some really great stuff on there. And yeah, really glad to be featured. So, for those of you who have been with us for some time, we are community-led events, so we definitely want to make sure that our community also has the opportunity to give a 60-second shout out if there's anything that you're working on, or you could just have a humble brag, or if you want anyone to get involved with a project, or you just think that there's something that the community might benefit from. This is an opportunity to just take 60 seconds and do your thing. So if you would like to be part of a 60-second intro, raise your hand. But first, we'll leave it to the expert. We'll have Julian. Please do come up. Sorry.
Not sure I'm an expert. Good evening. Ellen mentioned previously the talks that were with GreenTech Southwest. So I gave one last month. I don't know if anyone saw it, about green ops and trying to measure the emissions from the cloud. So I'm Julian Yosh. I work for Digital Pebble. I'm a green ops and green software consultant, and I'm really happy to announce that secured a deal with Green Pixie, one of our partners, who are the leaders in green ops, so providing data to evaluate the emissions from the cloud. And yeah, very happy to announce that GreenTech Southwest members can access the Green Pixie Academy for. So yes, you can access the Green Pixie Academy for a week using the code here, and it covers the basics of cloud emissions and everything. It overlaps with the presentation I gave, but will probably explain things a lot better than I did. So enjoy. Any questions? Yeah, come grab me and have a chat. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Julian. I'll make sure that this code is on our website and circulated so that everyone can take full advantage. So after that great example, has anyone else got a 60-second intro they'd like to? Perfect. Thank you, Ollie. Oops. Get out of your way.
That's all right. Thanks. Yeah, I thought I'd just say hi, given it's the Scott Logic office and we're hosting, and we're really proud to host GreenTech Southwest. We don't just provide the space. We have also got a number of open source projects that we're working on in the GreenTech sort of space. There's the Tech Carbon Standard, which is available at techcarbonstandard.org, which is a bit of work we've been doing with clients, private sector and UK government clients, to map the impacts of technology across upstream, operational and downstream. So if you've got questions about that, come and grab me in the break or afterwards. And also, we've been doing a number of bits of work around sustainable AI. I'm currently giving a number of talks on that topic, and we've got another open source project I can talk to you about as well if you're interested in that. So, once again, welcome to the Scott Logic office. Just quickly on who we are. We're a digital technology consultancy. I lead our sustainable tech sort of area, but also a lot of other research and development. And typically we do large, complex systems development for the banks and for public sector and energy companies. So that's Scott Logic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie, as always. Anyone else like to do a quick 60-second intro? No pressure. No. Forever hold your peace. But we'll move on. Oh, just keeping me on my toes there. That was
Thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm Geraint Jones from Innovator UK Business Connect. So I support KTPs, Knowledge Transfer Partnerships. Someone's heard of that? Anyone else heard of it? Oh, a few of you. Excellent. So KTPs are for companies, also not-for-profits, charities, and in a limited way, public organisations as well, looking to grow through innovation, have a plan where they want to be, where they can be in 7 or 8 years' time, but know there's a missing piece of the jigsaw, some technology or process to embed within the organisation before delivering against a 5-year business plan or impact plan. And where it's innovative for the organisation and where they could usefully do that by teaming up with an academic team for any discipline, for a collaborative project called a KTP, Knowledge Transfer Partnership, lasts between 1 and 3 years. You get bought out time, 10% time from the academic team for the whole of the project, 1 to 3 years. Someone called an associate is employed full-time and embedded within the organisation. There is a cost to that. It's subsidised by Innovate UK, 67% for SMEs. So the full cost per year is about 120k, but for 40k a year, you get someone employed full-time, 10% bought out time from the academic team. And an example of a project that's just about to start, we've got a project with JISC, who I think you probably all know, based in Bristol, with Daniel Sheen from University of Bristol, looking at the energy impact of what they do and what they're looking to do in the future. So any companies, not-for-profits, charities, public organisations looking to innovate, who are thinking, have the funding to employ someone to bring in new innovative processes in the organisation, you could think about doing that through a KTP. So I'd be happy to talk to anyone about that. Thank you.
great. Thanks so much. Would you like to do anything as well? And just to say, I'll make sure that I grab all your details and summarise the talks so people can get in touch with you after. Here you go, Ian. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ian Brooks. I'm a senior lecturer in sustainable IT at the University of the West of England. One of the modules that I teach is sustainable business and computing for our final year business computing students. And there's a problem, a lack of entry-level jobs in green IT. So students who are fired up about wanting to do sustainability in an IT context, if you are aware of any jobs at entry level, at graduate level, please do drop me an email, ian.brooks, without an E, at uwe.ac.uk, and we'll talk. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ian. Any last volunteers? No? Perfect. A little resurgence there, but I think we'll move on. Just before that, do you think we might want to touch the mic down a tiny bit? A little loud. Maybe, well, I don't know if I'm just... yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, that feels a lot better. And everyone can hear me without the effort I'm putting into the words, maybe. Right. Let's go in the right way. So, yeah, maybe a bit more, actually. Just a sweet spot. There we go. So, yes, we're not the only GreenTech event out there or event of interest. We do like to keep you posted on other events that are of interest to us. So we've got the Blue Earth Summit. I'm not, many of you will have heard of this one. But that's on the 15th and the 17th of October in London. Then we've also got Tech and Net Zero conference in London on the 22nd of October, definitely worth checking out. And then a Reboot, Bristol Scaling AI with Sustainability in Mind, also part of Bristol Tech Festival on the 9th of October, tomorrow. So yeah, check any of these out. Again, these will be circulated. So yeah, you can make sure that you can catch those. Cool, has everyone got them? And then, yeah, so your feedback means a lot to us. We're not shy. We take any criticism or compliments as well. So please do get in touch with us if you have anything, or even would like to host a talk or like to get involved with us in any way on a voluntary level. We're always looking out for people to come help us run these events. So it's got greentechsouthwest@gmail.com or our LinkedIn page as well, GreenTech Southwest. So yeah, once again, we'll circulate it. Right. You'll be pleased to know it's enough of me. I'll leave it over to Mike to introduce our wonderful speakers. But yeah, you're in for a treat. So, oh yeah, I'll take them. Start making. Very too long. Okay. Oh, you need that.
Okay, well, put that on.
Dance.
We made it work. All good. Okay. Great. Very happy to welcome Dryden back to GreenTech Southwest after your last talk in 2021, which broke the records. We had 160 odd people for that online in the heart of COVID. But really, so there was nothing going on, but it was really great. So but yeah, very welcome. And Dryden is CEO at CarbonRunner. You might have seen him at Green.io last week. But yeah, enough about that.
No, thank you very much. First off, thanks so much to Mike and Ellen and all of the team for putting this on. I love coming to these things, and I think it's I'm a real big, cheerleader for everything in the Southwest, and it's so encouraging to see more people in real life and people online. So I think we need to rally around and try and bring this topic up and really promote tech out here. So thanks all for coming. Just a quick round of hands up. Who here is a developer? Okay. So there's a few. Okay, so my talk's all about shifting compute to the lowest CO2 regions. And I'm gonna kind of go through it, and I'm gonna explain what that is, and give you a few kind of takeaways about how we can. It's a bit of a practical look at how we can take action in the modern world of AI and lots of big scary things. But first off, if you don't know, the cloud isn't this lovely thing that we see in the sky and nice and fluffy, but this is actually this is a Google data center in Iowa. It's US Central 1 for all of those real nerds out there, and this is actually tagged as a low carbon data center from Google. And this is a coal power plant, if you haven't seen one before. This is also in Iowa. And the cool part about this, if you want to visit both of them, you can. It's a lovely little cycle. You got two routes here, but they're super close together. And I think the biggest takeaway here is that this one is denoted as low carbon, but it has a rather large grid intensity of 413 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour. So that's, it's high. And I don't mean to kind of downplay Google here, because actually from the cloud providers and the hyperscalers, they are kind of the best of a bad bunch. So it's actually really encouraging, even though this might not say it. They buy power from other places around the US, which are called power purchase agreements, and they they buy that to account for the amount of power that they're using at this particular location or region, so that they can promote a transition to renewables. So it is actually a good thing, but it's just interesting to see how close they are in real life, in physical. And data centers aren't really alone. Like 90% of data centers are in regions of high fossil fuels. This place over here is Virginia, and up here is called like the Internet Alleyway or something like that, Internet Alley, and 72% of all internet traffic goes through there. So it's a huge amount. But as you can see here, it's a region of high fossil fuels, and what we're talking about is, instead of using regions like that, we could shift those and we could promote like more renewable locations. And yeah, with the rise of developers and AI and the impact that they have on the planet, the impact is growing and growing even more every year. So I might just skip this one because there's a few developers, but most people kind of use a platform to run most of their CI/CD. And for this talk, we're going to be looking at continuous integration and continuous development. I'm kind of going to assume that most people are on GitHub and running some kind of actions on there. And it's a really common place to do that. You wouldn't be alone. A vast amount of a proportion of the CI is run on GitHub. As we can see here, yeah, you're not alone. There's a 25% year-on-year growth with developers. So the more actions, the more compute, the more developers, the more impact it has on our planet. And everything in this talk is all about compute minutes. So everything that is run on a server is kind of measured in seconds and billed in minutes. So when I talk about compute minutes, that's like things running on a physical server in one of those clouds, not a cloud. And it has impact to them. And so, yeah, back on the data center, we're just going to go through data centers around the world. There's got like 10,000, so, strap yourselves in. This is another data center. I don't think it looks as nice, but I'll show you why I like it. But this is an OVH data center, so a different cloud provider, and this is in Beauharnois in Canada. This is, God, it's good looking, isn't it? That's a run-of-river hydropower, and that's also in Beauharnois, Canada. We like run-of-river. And yeah, with this one's a lovely cycle. It's probably even better, but it's really, really close. And it is a massive 93% reduction in emissions of the one in Iowa. So when we talk about shifting compute to lower CO2 regions, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about, instead of running it in Iowa, we could use this one. We could be a bit more conscious about where we're putting our compute, and we could take action and kind of shift it to different places. Yeah, and when you do this, this grid intensity down here in comparison is 26 grams of CO2. So, we want to try and measure that, and that's kind of the number that we're looking for there, keeping that as low as possible. So what we can do, it is possible. You can do it now. At CarbonRunner, what we're doing is we're measuring all of those data centers in all the regions around the world, all live in real time. We're getting an average, and we only run things in data centers under 100 grams. So if we saw there was a 400 gram one and there was a 28 gram one, and our average is around 28 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour. So we not only do that from a sustainability point of view, but we also try and find the cheapest and the fastest servers to run it on. Yeah, how we do that is, I think we're going to see quite a lot from some nice live grids and maps and things today. But we partner with live grid data, and we get a big selection of all of the regions on multiple cloud providers all at once, and then we kind of scale that down and get that list get smaller and smaller. We look at server availability and the ones, importantly, that are underutilized, and then we kind of weight that up and say we should run it there instead, because it's going to save you money and it's going to run faster, and also it'd be more environmentally friendly. So we start your GitHub action or your job there. So far, all of this talk has been around CI/CD and GitHub actions, and that's really where CarbonRunner is at. That's something that we know and that we've been developing, and we've just focused on GitHub Actions. But all of this it works great for any type of kind of fungible job, any job that you can shift around, and it can take any different source. So it could be your GitHub Actions, could be GitLab, could be Bitbucket or an S3, and we can shift it kind of anywhere as well. So as I mentioned, there's multiple clouds, but also there's options that we can do to have decentralized network of clouds. It could be, there's a really amazing project, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a company called Deep Green, and they have data centers attached to swimming pools. So that promotes heat reuse. So we could shift our compute there. So that would give us an option to send compute to the UK, which is super nice. There's this is a modular data center, a decentralized one in the States, and this plugs straight directly into solar arrays, so it gives a really good option in place in regions of high CO2, but more of a granular point of view. And for us, that's really important because we take live grid data in from a regional point of view, a location-based approach. But if we do get the information at a smaller point from the data center, we plug that in too. We also look at water scarcity as well, so we can make more ethical decisions about where our compute is going. More recently, this is the coolest one. It just blows my mind what I'm about to say. We shifted compute to servers on people's home boilers in their houses. So why that's super cool is we actually did it with OVO with their compute. So we shifted their compute to small little servers on boilers in people's homes around the UK. So when the wind's been blowing in the last few weeks, there was a really great storm. I was opening my windows, really excited to hear the wind blowing, and because it means that we can turn on automatically locations that weren't previously available because the grid level was so low. This is cool because the heat from the compute is reused to heat your water up. And a good part about this is all about resilience, is something we haven't talked about, is it gives a bit more resilience to the grid. Like what happens if there's not capacity there, we can shift it to a place that is like underutilized, which is also more sustainable too. CarbonRunner. We're all bootstrapped, so it's really interesting hearing about Gareth and his initiatives that are going on there. But we've had some awesome success lately. We've shifted over 62,000 jobs. We've proved that it's working. We have our first customers, and we've shifted those to 44 different regions throughout the world. We've utilized 5 different cloud providers: AWS, GCP, Azure, and Heater, which is the company that are doing the servers on the boilers. And we've kind of proven those things. So it's, the 90% less emissions. We're concentrate on these 2 metrics a lot too, which is we're faster than GitHub, which is like our point of reference. And we're also cheaper. And 75% of our jobs ran in France and Canada lately. And another cool thing is someone tried to use us for Bitcoin mining. Sadly, we couldn't take those compute minutes because you're not allowed to do that, but it would have been nice. And yeah, it kind of brings us on to like what we're doing and what the wider thing of CI/CD is doing. And as it stands, everything in CI/CD world has always been on 2 pillars, and it's always been price and performance. And we want to just say that we can do more than that. You can have those out of the box. You can be faster. You can be cheaper as well. But you can also have sustainability and resilience already baked in. And then that brings us on to having some different kind of features as well. So we can do things like region preferencing. And we can, if you have a specific region that you would like to, say you don't want to have the US, you can also do that too. But really saying, there are alternatives out there, developers, and it's really great because it saves you time and money. How am I doing for time? Oh yeah, cool. The little clock didn't start, so I wasn't sure. So yeah, this is kind of our the regional preferencing that I'm talking about. Because we use multiple cloud providers around the world, you can specify which regions that you want to. You might not want to run it in the US. You want to keep your data, your compute within Europe, and you totally can. We're also, sorry Google, I feel so bad. But you also can specify the provider that you would like to. So if you don't want to use Google and you just want to use cool servers on people's home boilers, you totally can. And we give you that preference. So it kind of gives you you're not fixed, you're not, no lock-in into it. And from a actual kind of dashboard point of view, like what you get when you do these things is all about visibility. It's about showing you where your jobs and where your computers and kind of like making the cloud tangible. It's such an intangible thing that we just kind of take for granted. But actually, it's like it runs on servers that are on all of the time. And we can show you now, we can measure them, you know, by the second in what region they are. We can look at live grid energy data, and we can make incredibly precise calculations on the savings and what cloud they ran in and what regions. And we can show you as well like everything you need to know for your business as well, not just as a developer, but for your business, and like have a look at how much you're saving from an environmental point of view. So we kind of have that ESG reporting kind of built in. And I love this one. It kind of just demonstrates that, like a good visual of seeing like this is our current global intensity on this far side. This is kind of the GitHub, what you take for granted. By default, all of your runners will be running over here on high grid intensities, but you could be running 11 times greener, and the alternatives out there. And we're kind of continuously benchmarking against these, because what we want to do is kind of promote that what is good for the planet can also be good for business too. And if you're interested in these things, we made some tools to make this a bit more visible. So you can go speak to your bosses, or, you know, if you have the permissions to do it within GitHub, you can find out all this information, put it in a free calculator, and it'll give a bit of an idea about your impact. And really we want to kind of say is your GitHub actions kind of aren't free. With GitHub, you get some free minutes, but they're not really that free. They're great at locking you into some maybe older, more expensive runners, but there are options out there. So you're kind of paying in different ways. And interestingly, like right now, we focused on CPU and with CarbonRunner, but this is kind of the same across the board for different type of jobs. It could be your AI training. Why can't we shift that from Virginia to Norway or France, and we see a 10 times reduction in emissions on that? It could be video editing as well. I heard, I'm not sure this is 100% truthful because I couldn't find the source, but I really liked it. I think it's a good analogy. Is one frame of Frozen, the film, took 24 hours to render. So it's like, what happens if we could render that in a low CO2 region? Like, massive savings there. And also that kind of goes into games rendering too. There's a lot, and that kind of focuses on GPU. So that's kind of be our next natural area of progression. But yeah, you developers out there, I'm looking at you. You fundamentally, the people that try these things out are developers. We have to like buy in and rally around together. So events like this are amazing to go to your bosses and say, you know what, there is some options. And with all the 4 pillars that we have with price, performance, resilience, and now sustainability, like there's never been a better time to say what is good for the planet is also good for business too. So I kind of urge you to go out there and try and take some action. So yeah, thank you very much.
So yeah, very, very excited to introduce Ed from ZapMap. We've been trying to get ZapMap on for about 5 years, so I'm glad they got back to us. Well, so yeah, really, really interested in hearing about ZapMap. Who have been around a little while and are doing some fantastic things. So yeah, anyway, I'll get out of the way again. We will have questions for Dryden and for Ed at the end. So we'll whiz around and try and get all your questions answered before we go to the pub.
Thanks. I will be clear that I said yes the first time he asked me, so it's other people that have been saying no or ignoring emails. I'd also say mine's going to be a less technical talk. I was like, if anyone's sticking around for the more techie one, that's not going to be me. That's the smarter guy here, but I'm going to talk a little bit about our story at ZapMap as a business and trying to, I guess, survive in a growing industry over the last decade. So I'll just start by asking who here has got an electric vehicle? Ooh, quite low. I'm surprised. I'm not going to shame anyone. Have you got a Tesla or have you got a different electric vehicle? Okay. Have you used ZapMap? That's the right answer. Brilliant. Have you used ZapMap? Brilliant. Okay, we're on the right track. So we've got really good awareness with people that got electric vehicles, but if you don't have an electric vehicle, you might not have heard of us. And I'll tell you a little bit about our story. So this is the question my mum asked me when I got a job at ZapMap, is what the hell is a ZapMap? So I'll try and cover that a little bit. Talk about our origin story, so where it came from and how it came about. Talk about our learnings from 11 years of existing as ZapMap. So, we've been around a long time. And also talk a little bit about where we're going next with the platform and our technology and hopefully some exciting things that we're doing. A little bit about me. I think I used this slide last time I was in a thing with John, so you might point this out. So head of product at ZapMap. I'm also a coach on the side, so I do a little bit of coaching for other people that are trying to grow their careers within product management and other parts of the kind of digital industry. Absolutely love nature, so spend a lot of my time out on bird reserves, looking at birds, which is super cool. But very, very peaceful. Love sort of anything to do with growth, personal growth, learning about new things. So, meetups like this, hearing great talks like that and hearing about the cool things that are going on. That really interests me. And this last picture I just put up because it's probably the coolest picture I've got of me. I just try and get it in places. But I love to run long distances and just be out in nature as much as I can. So that was in the Sahara a couple of years ago, which is, just a little bit of a brag, really. Not related to the talk at all. So some numbers about the UK market. Anyone guess what that 1.7 million is? Battery electric vehicles in the UK, correct. 72,000 of which were sold last month. That's quite a big number. It's about, getting up towards about a quarter of all new vehicle sales or electric vehicles. And we've got about 40,000 downloads last month. So we get really good, people buy EVs, they download ZapMap, we help them find their public charging. There's about 3.6 million public charges that happen in the UK each month across about 85,000 different charge points. And one of the challenges there is they are operated by 100 plus charge point operators. So it's a very complicated landscape. If you buy an EV, it's very variable experiences, and that's kind of where we've come from. So what the hell is a ZapMap? We're a mission-led company. So broadly, what we're trying to do is help people charge with confidence. But more broadly than that, we're trying to shift people to lower carbon or no carbon mobility. That's our ultimate aim. People know us as an app. So we're here really, there's lots of fear and misinformation about, lots of this green transition, but lots of people out there trying to stop people buying EVs, saying they're not suitable for you, or the cost of charging is really high, or actually the carbon debt that's racked up when an EV is made is so high, it's not actually going to it's not going to be a better choice than a petrol vehicle. We try and myth bust around that. We're trying to help people on this switch. So the government has mandated that we are moving to electric. It is the winner, I guess, from consumer perspectives. And 80% of new car sales by 2030 need to be petrol electric vehicles. So that's a lot of people that will be moving across. Charging those cars has been really variable, really fragmented payment options, 100 plus CPOs trying to get people to come and charge at their sites. So there's a complicated picture out there. We're trying to simplify that. And broadly what we try and do is connect this driver demand for charging with the wider supply of charging options. So that's where we kind of sit. We're an aggregator and we sit in the middle and we have an app. But we're not just an app. We're actually a platform that just has an app as part of its overall ecosystem. So we are aggregating a lot of different data sets, data on charge points, data on charging activity, data on vehicles, user feedback about that network, and then we push it out in our 3 product lines. So we've got our app, we've got Spark, which is our API products, and then we've got Insights offering. And we've done pretty well so far. So we supply data to the government, so we are kind of the backbone to a lot of their understanding of how this ecosystem and how this transition is playing out. So we've been supplying them with government for about 8 years now, and we just won a good new tender with them. We do lots of thought leadership, so we go out and speak on panels, and we speak at events, get on podcasts. There's a few very boring ones that I'm on, so if you want to go in touch with those, you are very welcome. And we get referenced in the press a lot because we have lots of stats on the industry and what's going on. And we've won lots of awards as well. And we've done it for 11 years, so we've been here for quite early in this transition. It span out of a car comparison site. So it was called Next Green Car. It's basically there to help people say, right, I want a new car. What's a greener alternative, and how are those rated? Next question was, well, it's an electric vehicle. Well, where the hell do I charge that? So they then created this app, or this map called ZapMap. They said, here's where all the chargers are. Then everyone just started going to that, and no one cared about the car comparison. So we said, all right, well, let's just go and build that and spin that out and make a business around it. And then this transition up. So you can see as the market's grown, 1.7 battery electric vehicles, we've actually kept really good penetration. So we've got most of them that have come onto our platform, which is really, really good. And we have about 350,000 monthly active users each month. So we're quite a good part in the industry at the moment. So what I thought I'd do is just share some reflections on that journey. So yeah, it's not going into the technical detail of the platform, but it's maybe just sharing a little bit about us as a business and how we've survived for so long in quite a choppy transition, I would say, so far. So I'd say the first thing, if you're in like a new and growing and a kind of emerging market, there's a lot of fun. It is chaotic, and in that chaos is lots of great opportunity, because variable experiences, people trying to understand what's going on, people trying to access services they don't know how to use. There's loads of opportunity to solve pain points in there, and that's ultimately what product is there to do, and kind of what I got into it. I like solving real problems for people and creating value. You also, in new markets, get great users. They're pioneers. They care about this transition enough to do something before it actually makes sense to do it, when it's actually really painful. And if you had a Nissan Leaf all those years ago that could travel 65 miles, and you're trying to drive to the Cairngorms, it is painful. So you had lots of people out there that were pioneers trying to push this across, and they helped feed into our platform all of their experiences, and that helped other people's experience. So great users in early markets, but a lot of pain, particularly as a business, when you're trying to work with all of these charge point operators that are not conforming to standards, or not sending data in the right way, or maybe don't want you to play, or you've got oil and gas companies that are actively resisting this transition, and you're standing up to them and trying to talk about the truth of what's going on. So great opportunity, great users, lots of pain within that new market. And what we found is definitely, this is pre my time, that a lot of these very smart strategic decisions were made, but not to say that smart decisions haven't been made since I joined, but they did some really good things early on where they invested up and down the value chain. So I always think about this example of pomegranate juice, the company Pom. Have you seen them in supermarkets? There's a good story that was in a book called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. I don't know if anyone's read that, but it's a brilliant book on strategy. And this family inherited this farm in America, and it was useless for most things except for growing pomegranates, but no one wanted to buy pomegranates. There was no market for it. So what they did quite smartly is they didn't go out there and try and sell people pomegranates. They went and invested a load of research to find out the health benefits of pomegranates. And they got a great team communicating those health benefits out there into the market. So they effectively created demand for their product and then brought a product to market. Very smart. We had the benefit of doing similar things where we've been upstream trying to get people to move across to electric vehicles. We've been helping dealers understand how to sell electric vehicles and giving them the tools to do so. So we give them tools so that they can, show people where chargers are around their house. And that's quite a nice thing to get the confidence to buy this car. And then we've also tried to solve problems for people downstream of us. So the charge point operators who are broadly saying, I don't know how to get these new drivers to my sites. No one's heard of my brand. My brand is Osprey. Does anyone know who Osprey are? Great. Okay, so some people do, but lots of people outside of the EV industry have never heard of these brands like Osprey or Believe. So we can help them build brand visibility, which is fantastic. And broadly through those partnerships, that's been, they've helped us build our brand. So because they're out there effectively selling our product, dealers are saying, buy this car, go and download ZapMap. We're not having to spend loads of money on, brand awareness or marketing our product. We can invest it back into the platform, which has been really good. Another one. So you in product or in marketing, you talk lots about flywheels. Like, what are the things that you kind of reinforce your whole model and help get your growth going? In our case, I think we've been very lucky that what we set out to do was build initially a very good database of where all the charge points were around the UK. Sounds pretty dry, but it's actually been the absolute backbone of what we've done. By doing that really well and helping people interact with that and navigate towards it, we've built this market leading brand that ensures people get our app. but also it's allowed us to build all these API capabilities which we can serve up to others. That allows us to address new people, drivers that interact with either our app or the apps built on top of our APIs are effectively charging our CPO partners. So at the bottom here, we're building value for those CPO partners. And as a result of us, driving utilization of their charge points, they allow us to do things with their data that they wouldn't allow others to do, like commercialize it. So we have data and insights products, which we then sell to government, or we sell back to charge point operators to help them understand how their network performs against other networks, for instance. That then ensures we've got a really good relationship with them. They grow, we get the best charge point data, it all goes round again. So it's a really nice wheel. And this is where I think the value of kind of getting data permission very early and understanding what you can do with that data is, that's been at the absolute core of our strategy, and I think how we've survived. Coming on to which, I'm sure people have seen, heard about crossing the chasm and all of this. The challenge, I guess, when you're moving from these people that are here and happy to be there in a kind of problematic early market, and then trying to get across to the early majority, lots of companies fall down here either because they run out of money, or they don't have enough resilience about their revenue streams, and one gets challenged and then it falls away. We've actually had a really good product set, which is kind of quite varied, and that resilience has allowed us to kind of get across some of these challenges where you have policy turn against you, or you've got this big orange idiot in the White House who's obviously doing things to kind of dampen down this demand. But if you can survive through the next 3 years, then hopefully we can get a better person in power, and we might see the US kind of accelerate again. So yeah, we've been lucky in having quite a broad product set, and that's helped us build resilience and get across some of these challenging times. However, that has led to a whole heap of compromise. We've had too many things to support, and we've all admitted that many times, and then we've all sort of gone, right, let's crack on anyway, and let's try and support them. And so we've had this big portfolio of products. We've had pressure on revenues because, it's a challenging market. 3 years ago, it was really easy to raise money in the EV space. Not so much now. Everyone's looking at AI and trying to pump money into that. And actually, lots of people are coming to the end of funding cycles, and it's a little bit more problematic. So you're then looking at, okay, how can we really get our revenues and get to cash flow positive? And all of that goes against investing in the experience and investing in new capabilities and innovation on the platform. So there's lots of compromise that goes on there. You've also got, we've got great founders. Mel is the most tenacious person I've ever met, and will do something even when it's a terrible idea and then proves it is a great idea. And that's what she's done for, a decade in our company. We had Ben, who was the other founder. He was a technologist, maybe slightly more of an idealist. Like, he was kind of building cool things, and then Mel was making sure there was a business that kind of wrapped around it. Ben was always against, quite rightly, things like, plastic RFID cards? The kind of things you scan into hotel rooms. Very common for paying for charging in the EV space. Really weird. Like, this is like the weird innovation in the market. People end up with like 5 or 6 of these for all the networks in their wallet. We've come in and we've tried to simplify it, said you need one, don't worry about it. But we came with a digital first solution. So why do people want pieces of plastic in their hand? That's really bad. Turns out people still want pieces of plastic in their car. So we've had to go back and say, right, okay, well, we need a card because that's actually what the market wants. And that's been quite a hard compromise. And, founders don't like making those compromises. So mostly I've compromised quite a lot. But we've definitely got our timing wrong a few times along the way. That digital first solution, when people didn't want to pay digitally for charging, was one. We also built a load of API products before the wider market demand was there for them. So yes, loads of people use our platform, but actually a lot of other people, breakdown companies or fleet management companies, they're still quite early in this transition. So they don't necessarily want your APIs that, operate on a scaled model. So we've maybe struggled to get that product off the line, and we've been a little bit ahead of the market. It probably is about a year ahead of the market. So we've definitely made some compromises. We've definitely got some timing things wrong. And we've definitely had to have the challenge of at points feeling like, and if you look at the app now, you can all look at the app and tell me it's a dated app. I'm not going to take any offense in it. We know that, and we're investing in that now, but we've had to compromise on doing that to kind of focus on the revenue side. Bonus is we've been very lucky to have a good team. So as I mentioned, Mel, our founder, super tenacious. She's just got through all the difficult periods, like through sheer force of will. No one will stand in her way, and that's brilliant. we've had Richard, who's our CEO, who's kind of like this calm guy, knows how to speak to the market, knows how to raise money and smooth it over with investors when it's getting a little bit more difficult. And then we had Ben, who's like absolutely at his core one of the nicest guys you ever meet, and has kind of kept the hope alive in some of these challenging times. And I think what I've definitely felt is in a small team, if you get that blend of skills of like tenacity, calmness, and someone that looks after the people, you know, it goes a long way. And I think that's kind of got us to where we are today. So we've broadly been all about making charging simple. That's our role, and we're trying to make sure that we, you know, do that, and that helps the green transition. But people, rightly, you probably say is, well, what happens if it is simple? And for many people, it is now. Like, the experience has got so much better. So what can we do as a company to kind of go beyond it? I think just to frame it, so transport accounts for around 30% of global carbon emissions, and about just over 70% of this comes from road transportation, so cars, vans, lorries, etc. It is still a massive problem, and if you look where the market is, like, it was still very early on this transition. So even in the UK, I think it's about 4 or 5%, maybe about 5% now of cars are you know, battery electric vehicles. That's very early, and the UK is a leader out there. Aside from places, you know, like Norway, where I think 98% of their cars sold last month were electric, which is pretty outstanding. And China is rocketing with some quite questionable practices upstream of this. But actually, when you look at it, 40% of global passenger sales by 2030 will be EVs. We're still very early. There's still a massive opportunity here. And so we know that charging is not simple in a lot of markets, and we can play a role there. However, I think one of the key things, and Dryden was talking about it, is like, how can you make sure that things are happening in a smarter way? The same things might need to happen. You might need to put electrons in your car. How do you make sure that that happens at the right time on the grid? How do you make sure that that's done in a way that's a great experience for a driver? So this is kind of how I've talked about the maturity of our product. Is at the start, it was just loads of bloody options, and you had to go on there and be like, okay, I'll try and work this stuff out myself. Next stage is helping people configure that, finding the right options for them. Going beyond that is getting towards recommendations. Okay, we know what you do, we know where you drive, we know how you like to charge. Here's the best option for you to make sure it's convenient, and it's at the, you know, it's at a point on the, you know, in the day where there's, you know, green energy available, and going into those charge points, and how is it done, you know, so it's, you know, a good price for you. And then going beyond that, so just do it for me. Like, in the future, people should not be worrying about this. They've just got to make sure that they're doing the right thing, but it's automated for them, and they're getting rewarded for making sure that they're making the right choices. So we can enable drivers and charging to connect to, you know, the best time for convenience, capacity, price, green generation, all of these things. And that's where our proposition will go. And empowering partners, you know, all of this stuff that I talked about in terms of data and insights, we've talked, this is kind of like a Gartner model of like the innovation within insights products. But descriptive, you know, basically what has happened. Diagnostic is the next step up. Well, why did that happen? Going forward, predictive, what's going to happen next? And then prescriptive, you know, what do you want to happen and how do you make it happen? So this is where our data and insights products can help industry make better decisions. So if we're looking at utilization across the public charging network, how can we help charge point operators attract people at the right time? How can we help them with their pricing strategies, or we're setting up their charge points in a way that kind of are accessible? That's the role that we can play, I think. And broadly, you can go beyond that and make it a managed service. So there's lots that we can do to kind of incrementally go up the value chain on that side as well. I don't know how I'm doing for time, but this is my last slide, so I think we're good. You could start booing if I was going too long. So yeah, broadly, like, next steps is going beyond. You know, we want to be defining, enabling, and orchestrating, rewarding charging for people. So making sure it's happening at the right time in the greenest way. And I think that's the exciting opportunity. We've had this acceleration with the market, hit the challenge of like being a company that's trying to make money and survive. And hopefully we can get the rocket boosters back on and make sure that we're doing all of this well into the future. And that is the end of my slides. Thanks very much.
Great stuff. Thanks very much for that, Ed. It was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, we wish you the best of luck with ZapMap. Look forward to following the future there. We're going to take questions. I'm just going to put a couple of benches down, I think. You'll have to just shout really loud or come up and ask your questions. So, yeah, as technical as that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't be shy. If you have a question for either Ed or Dryden, then stick your hand up and just shout really loud or come up. Yeah, just up.
On the man side, he is. Have you worked the near and law CCTV, ED part for the event?
Okay, so broadly, are we working with fleets or just like more sort of semi-interesting story I'll tell. I'll try and make it interesting. So one of our investors at Series A was a company called FleetCor, who probably no one's ever heard of, but they operate like a fuel card network called All Star, which a lot of companies use for their drivers out there. And they invested in us at a point where we weren't too sure about what we were going to do in the fleet space. And basically they were our route to market. So we could say, right, okay, we just power you. You've got the relationships with the fleets. Therefore, we're just a service that kind of underpins your platform. There's a whole story about that, which I won't go into in public, but maybe we can talk about one time in the pub. But as a result, we've been sort of boxed out of that fleet market. I think there's a really good opportunity though that hopefully in the coming months we can start to look at that a little bit more. We certainly know that there's a lot of services that we can provide into the fleet platforms that are already being used to help them orchestrate their drivers' lives a little bit easier. So yeah, it will be a focus, but to date, not so much for many reasons.
Great stuff, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, just here.
Yeah, I had a question about the well, do you have any data on the pizza system? How much they take out that they replace it?
I don't in the slides, but if you grab me afterwards, I can send you some because I've got the heater slides and they've got a really nice visual about, the offsets or not the offsets, the gas that they don't use and how the heat is reused and so it's all in there. So I can send it to you afterwards and make it available. Of course. Sorry if that's what sorry. Yeah, amazing, yeah. Okay.
Great stuff, thank you. Yeah, George at the back.
They really got. So, yeah, my question was around user idea, power, other, would it how what? So where are you going?
Yeah, great question. So it's a pretty new sorry, there you are. It's a pretty new partnership or pilot with us. We actually only did it. There was another talk a couple of weeks ago, so we quickly rallied around within 3 weeks to add their nodes to our kind of making our own extra cloud. It's a great question. We get lots of information back from the servers about how hot they are, how much capacity they have, kind of like you would in another data center or a hyperscaler. And we just kind of see how much and how available that particular node is or the nodes on their network. And then we send it there if they do have availability. But that's kind of why we plug in and we have this resilience thing is because it's not just heater. So if there are no places available, because they are heating your homes or, it's just not available, we shift it to other places. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So it's like we've got really nice APIs between the two. So we're gonna know how long, how many seconds that job ran on that particular server or in that particular region. And what we did, interestingly, when we first did the pilot, we actually had kind of like and also it's kind of all of this is kind of obfuscated. So we don't know if it's like your actual boiler on your server, but we do know the region and where it is, and they were all in one region. But what we wanted to try and do with this pilot is have lots of different regions around the UK, because they all have different grid intensities. So we wanted to like kind of spread those nodes around the UK and see what impact that kind of has. And going back to the question before, in the talk we had with Heater a few weeks ago and the collaboration with OVO, there's lots of great information. I think it was 25,000 showers worth of gas that we saved by just doing OVO's compute or their actions. So the savings are really amazing from them too. Yeah, that's good.
Great stuff. Yeah, just here.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I kind of always like this analogy. This all happens quicker than we can blink. And with the type of jobs that we do, if we just focus on kind of GitHub actions, as developers, I think we're all, even with GitHub, they have sometimes your jobs in a queue. We don't really see it. We're just, we benchmark against GitHub and they're not noticeable. And that's why we've partnered with really amazing companies and enterprises with dev teams, because it kind of goes back to what Ed was saying. It's like we really have to have those early customers so we can nail the experience for them, because as I mentioned, it's like developers, we kind of do hold the key. So you don't want to be waiting around for your actions to do it, but we try and focus on the actions that can be that are fungible and movable, that aren't so relying about being just in time, even though they are pretty quick. But yeah, just in terms of like latency about shifting between, no, it's not. We don't. As long as your job runs, people seem to be pretty chuffed.
Thank you. Any for Ed?
Yeah. Thanks for the great talks. You've got some really valuable data about your end users. A classic thing to do for a startup is to monetize that by selling it to digital ad market. How have you thought about that?
We just sell it. No, I'm joking. Yeah, sell it and then ask questions later. It is very interesting, and I think the whole advertising space, that so many startups get off the ground by doing that, and we have done. So we allow people to advertise within our app to our users. But broadly, we've tried to always take the view that needs to be products that would be interesting or aligned to the overall mission. So if it is a car company selling specific tyres for EVs, great. If it's someone trying to sell something that's absolutely not related, then they're trying to sell cigarettes, then probably not. So we've always been quite cautious about that, particularly with user data. Like that, the main thing for us is like we've grown on our community. The last thing that we want to do is alienate that community. I think there's a lot of risk in doing that. And what we're definitely seeing as well is certainly the revenue that can come from media, advertising, all of this is very variable and definitely under threat at the moment. Lots of people are changing their strategies around how they deploy that. It's all moving towards programmatic. It's all moving towards actually like totally different models. So we've been very cautious and haven't really done that to date. Like examples are that we could be generating a lot of data that we then sell on to insurers, for instance. And we've always been like, there's certain things that we're comfortable doing in that space, but a lot of things that we're not. Clear permissions around that and clear boundaries around it. So yeah, we're cautious and tried to avoid that direct type of monetization so far, really.
Great stuff. Any other questions? Ollie?
You see the chart will upgrade the space consolidation at some point. Surely it got over 100 given operators. Have ZapMap thought about going into the maybe you already providing actual chart?
If you look at the viability of a lot of their business models, I would be terrified if we made that decision. It is so yes, to answer your first question, definitely there will be consolidation. I think actually what you're seeing is some are pulling back at the moment, I think in anticipation of that and keeping some of their powder dry for that kind of move. There's opportunities for us in there because we hold the data on how they're performing. so we can help people assess the value of their assets and also the value of potential acquisitions within the market. So there's a good opportunity in there. I don't think we would be a charge point operator because that's not really where our strength lies. However, I could see in new markets tied to affiliations with certain charge point operators, say for instance, like we've always had this idea that why do charge point operators have their own apps? If they do, it's a failing of ours. So we should be able to kill that part of their business, take that cost off them, and then we just manage that. And I certainly think in new markets, if they're all bringing their own apps to market, like we've got it wrong. So I can see tied to affiliations. I don't think we'll ever be one. Definitely there will be consolidation. Would have thought it would happen sooner, but you still see them popping up. It blows my mind. You're like 105, here you are, and you're like, yeah. But yeah, to answer the question, yes.
Great stuff. Any more? Go on then.
Hi, Ed. Great talk. I was going to say, how, from a startup point of view with a small kind of passionate team, how do you get out of the chasm?
You need to hire a woman called Mel, who's one of our co-founders, and she'll put you all on her shoulders and then just walk out that chasm. Absolute tenacity. I think some luck as well. Along the way, there have been certain, government tenders have come up at the right time. Those tenders have been the things that have helped investors be confident in our role in the market. We've had some things that have just helped us get through. So I think, tenacity of founders and, as you well know in this space is absolutely key, and then a little bit of luck along the way. And a Mel. Yeah, but you can't have her, just to be absolutely clear. Yeah. You stay well away. I'll turn you away from the building.
That's brilliant. Mel?
There's your Mel.
Voice actors look inside time by that by hey. But I'm not really the kids up.
God, yeah, really good question. The markets are really different, and the role. So in Europe, we're a bit of a weird mix because we're like a data aggregator, a platform on top of that data, user experiences on top of that platform. Like we do a lot of parts of the value chain. In Europe, a lot of people use these hubs, so they're just data aggregators. They're not interested in customer experiences. And so, the models all look a little bit different. You then also have what are customers comfortable doing. I think I'm right in saying I might have this wrong. You can challenge this. In Germany, they're very different in terms of how they pay for things. They've got much more skepticism about just using contactless and using debit cards to make payments. And so the market has matured in a slightly different way. However, they're much more open to roaming and almost like a mobile telephone operators where you can all use each other's infrastructure and things like that. So it definitely does change. I would say we're not big enough outside the UK to really talk too much about that. But hopefully, if I do this talk again in 3 years, we might be. I would say it's quite variable, definitely, depending on how the market's matured.
Yeah, go for it.
As long as it's for him, then yeah.
Like chip design or would not feel about but how you get by somebody be how is I see or did see what they there's so many players be the guy those do that big dogs.
Yeah, definitely right. Partnerships is like our key one there for like. It's quite hard to get in front of certain types of customers. So there's us, there's charge point operators, there's the management systems that they use, all the different technologies they use. There's lots of parts of the stack. There's a really good company called Stable in the US who do a lot of advice and insights, and we've had conversations with them about ways that we could use our UK market leadership and the information that we've built to then they can address their clients, and there's new business models we can build around that. I think what's quite hard is you go to somewhere like the US, you've got to spend a lot of time on the ground with a presence there to get heard and get noticed, and there's all number of talks about what it's like to go to the US. So we haven't wanted to redirect our resources to go and do that. We do it mainly through partnerships and kind of trying to advise, and I think that's our best route at the moment.
Cool. Any other questions? Probably got time for one more if there's any. Yeah, go for it.
So you got my creative juices flowing. There's this really cool Twitter bot. I think it's not even called Twitter now, so it might be still around, but it's called Can I Bake Today? And it basically gives you, based on the grid intensity, it tells you if you should bake your bread today. And I really like it because it's like shows you when affordable, when electricity is going to be cheap and when it's green. Do you have a thing on your app? And sorry, I'm not a electric car guy. But do you have a thing on the app where you can tell me when the best times are, like a bit of forecasting?
Great question, great service. I bake bread, so I'm gonna be all over this. So interestingly, we did an Innovate UK project a few years ago called Zap Zero, which was all about building a low carbon route planner. And the name of the company we work with has gone out of my head. I will get it back. But basically, they helped us understand, I guess, how the energy was being generated around the UK, and much closer to real term than the data that we had. And the idea was we wanted to build a route planner that would route you through places where you could charge for a low carbon cost. And we did it. It was a very interesting project, and we learned a lot from it. Our idea was to then go out and sell that to fleets. So coming back to your earlier question, because we thought, right, okay, well, this is a way that they can drive down, there's this whole conversation about focus on like scope 1, 2, and 3, but they could drive down their carbon. And they just turned around to us and said, that's brilliant. Talk to us in about 3 years when we've got enough of our transition happening. Like our biggest worry at the moment is all of our petrol and diesel vehicles. So our routes for our EVs being a little bit more green isn't really like a benefit to us. So that's a very long answer to say no, but we should have, and I think it's a great idea. And the data sources are there. So yeah, I absolutely think that would be a really nice little improvement. So yeah, but I'll steal that idea if that's okay. Yeah, thank you. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Everyone forget that you heard that. Okay. When we launch it in about 3 weeks.
Great stuff, thank you. Those were amazing questions. And yeah, a round of applause for the guys for taking them on. We're getting on like a house on fire. We are going to be hopefully going over to Left-Handed Giant. I think the guys are coming. So if you want to continue the chat or do some networking, we'll be over there. We're going to give Ollie his office back. Thank you very much again for hosting us. Good. So yeah, and thanks to Mel over there for paying for the beers and pizzas from Bristol Digital Futures Institute. And thank you to all of you for coming. Yeah, we're really happy to bring these events to you. And yeah, we hope to see you for the next one. The next one is going to be on Thursday, December the 4th, and we'll have Ollie actually doing a talk for us, which is great. From Scott Logic, and also Joanne Thurlow from Bristol Waste, who is Head of Digital Sustainability. So we'll find out what they're up to over there as well. And I think that will be here. But yeah, thanks again for coming, and yeah, hopefully see you over the road. Thank you.